Hi, I'm Dima Sharif.
And I'm Sandra Boros.
I'm the founder of DS Consulting Club and the Grow Pro Shop.
And I'm the founder of Sandy's Kitchen.
And this is From Scratch to Success. Many founders aspire to build a huge brand, and they want huge brand equity. They want great positioning for the brand. Everybody wants to build a brand that's recognizable, that's loved, that they can be proud of. Everybody I sit with and I ask, what is your unique value? I find that most people get stuck there. A brand cannot be a brand if the brand is not aware what it uniquely contributes to the market. Sandra,
That's true.
let's start the branding
Talk.
The branding story. So
Okay.
you were just basically talking about food. You had a page where you talk about food, share recipes.
Yeah.
Basically more like a food influencer.
True. So
Take me through the journey.
do you want me to take you back to the beginning of the journey?
Wherever you want, let's start.
So at some point I had a job and I used to bake to let out some steam. I used to come home and put on my baker's hat and just bake, and we couldn't eat everything I made, so I would take it with me next day to work, and then I would start trying things on them, like this is a chocolate tart with egg, this is one without egg, here, give me your comments, give me your feedback, why do you like this, why do you like that? It was like a science experiment. And at some point I decided just to bake, and I had a tiny little catering menu that I used to do from the house, and we actually did really well. So well that I became overwhelmed and I stopped.
So you have a job and you're just baking to give yourself, to do something you like to do.
And to share.
Yeah.
I always felt that this stuff is shareable, and I wanted to share it with the world.
And then you found that you have the passion for it, then you decided to offer it to the world, and then found that the world is falling in love with it.
And the world loved it, and I was still operating from home. I had 2 small children. I did not want to go into a commercial kitchen. I actually got a little bit scared of because it kind of grew a little bit, and I was like, this is too big for home and I don't want to do this, and I just stopped.
Yeah.
And then I became a food blogger, a content creator. I used to share my recipes.
How did that transition happen? Why did you decide to?
I decided that I love food so much. So whether it's baking and selling or baking and giving to my colleagues, I would bake or cook and share recipes. So I went into food photography, I went into editing, I started doing all of that.
And at that point, you've quit your job?
At some point I quit.
Okay.
At some point I quit, but not because not because I had found myself, but because I was sure that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of support from the family, and they were like, okay, you just do it. One day I was like, I hate this job, I'm gonna leave. And my husband was like, you know what? Leave now. And he called me out on it, and a week later I actually quit. So I stumbled and I did many things, but all related to food. And then I became a video creator when Instagram pushed videos down, and they said, okay, now, you were making still images, now you have to make videos. So I started making videos. And at some point I said, you know what? I want to do what I did before, but I want to do it in a way where it's, can I say, institutionalized, where it's,
so this is the moment that I want to get to.
Yeah.
So you found the passion, you found that people like what you're offering in terms of that passion. Up until now, it's still nothing official, nothing. So the minute you decided, you made that
that's
decision.
the word, official.
Yes.
Maybe that's the word I was looking for.
That's
I wanted
the point
to make
where
it
you
official.
Yeah.
And so we started in creating the brand. So
Right.
you could say that I was the brand.
Yeah.
And then I kind of wanted the brand not to be me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I just wanted
course.
the brand to be a product that could be in your home, and that I wasn't the brand. I wanted to slowly kind of be less about me and more about the products.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We set, so the recipes were already developed. By the time we launched, we had like 10 recipes, and we launched with 4. We didn't even use everything we had. We said, let's start slow and see what people like. If they don't like something, we change, we swap. And so the brand became what I wanted people to associate: quality, good ingredients, recipes that are tested and tested and tested
To
a
perfection.
billion times. Because, you know, like when you run a kitchen, at some point you give a qualified person a recipe and they have to follow it. But it maybe took you 200 tests to get there, God knows. But so I believe our wealth is in our recipes, is in our unwavering quality, is in the fact that the product feels elite, and it's supposed to make you feel like you are getting a treat, but in the sense that we don't always get treats, so make your treats be worth your while. You know what I mean? This is what I wanted people to feel.
I mean, look, the minute you decide that you want to make it official, the minute you decide that you want to turn it into an actual business, the minute you decide that it's no longer something I do sometimes, it's just something we do, and we are now starting to work on it.
Always, not sometimes.
That's the minute the business starts. Everything before that is maybe testing the water or hobbying, but just benefiting from the hobby. But the minute you decide that that's it, this is what I'm gonna do, you've decided to turn it into a business. At that point, we go back in time. What was the understanding of what branding is? Did you even think in terms of branding?
No, I just knew what I wanted the customer to feel. Okay? I know that branding could be about feelings, or probably is, but like I wanted them to feel that they have a very special product. And I wanted, like, I always had this image in my head of somebody going to a dinner and taking a box, and people go like, oh my God, you got these. You know what I mean? This is the feeling I wanted people to have.
Branding, most entrepreneurs think that we create a logo and decide a name, and we've created a brand. The logo, the name, the visual appearance is such a small, it is a very important part of branding, but it's such a small part of branding, because the work is deeper, way deeper, and it has to happen before you actually create the visual identity. Because what goes into branding is basically the question why. That's why I started this with asking Sandra about the transition, and her telling this story. This is exactly the brand, because why this brand? Why this niche? Why do I want to do this? Why will people like this? Why will people choose this over another similar product? The why, first of all, is very important, because branding is all about storytelling. It's telling a story well enough to connect people to it, to make that story, when that story is told, the brand name comes to mind. And that's proper, strong branding, right?
I don't think we're there yet.
If you, hold on, Sandra, because I actually don't think so. I'll tell you a story now that will make you happy. But what I want you to know is that when it comes to branding, make sure 100% that your brand name brings to mind certain narratives, certain ideas, certain quality aspects, certain adjectives related to it, because that is how it sticks to people's heads. Speaking of if you're there or not, my daughter loves cookies. I love cookies as well, right? And so when we're thinking, okay, we want to have a treat, what shall we have? We don't think in terms of let's buy cake or donuts, or we always think cookies, right? My daughter, when she tried your cookies, she's like, these are like the best cookies I've ever had. And then I'm like, yeah, aren't they good? She's like, they're very chewy, they're really nice, they're not overly sweet. You know, and my daughter, of course,
she's your daughter.
Yeah, so she knows her food, she knows her palate. And it goes there. We have the treat and we're great. Then the next thing I know, when her friends come over, they're saying, shall we have a treat? Let's order Sandy's cookies.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, how do you guys know Sandy's cookies? They're like, oh, she is the best in creating the chewy, tasty, like melt in your mouth kind of cookies. See, that's branding.
Yeah.
Associating that it's chewy, it's perfectly balanced, it has a really good chocolate flavor. That's branding. Not everything in branding is just what we say. It's also what we deliver. We deliver on the promise.
Yeah.
But if we're also telling the stories and the narrative behind the brand, we're telling why we're doing what we do, what makes it different from everything else out there,
Yeah.
right? That is branding. Then, if that all is tied together with a visual appearance, in terms of logo, the name, everything that actually brings all of it together. And then we have a full brand potentially able to reach people. The minute we start telling people these things, we're actually doing branding. When we talked about marketing, we were saying that in marketing, we do marketing for conversions and we do marketing for reach and raising awareness is all about instilling these values of the brand so that people associate it with that, right?
Right. So funny thing is that, like for me as a brand owner, if you will say, I like my implicit promise to everybody, like as a brand, is that the cookie they're having today, pick any one, it will be the same.
Yeah. Which actually is true.
Which is
I've never once
inherent
encountered
to our brand.
a discrepancy. Like you order it and you get it consistently
and that's
the same.
what it's like for me. That is a big part of branding.
Yeah.
Like you expect it to be the same, and it will be the same.
Yeah. Another thing about branding that we all should always think about. Branding or creating a business in general is not about throwing another business to the world. It's not like hoarding ideas in the world.
Yeah.
You have to find some kind of a unique space within an industry or a niche that you feel strongly about and you can contribute to. And so the question why is number one, but then the question becomes like, what are we bringing into the market space?
Yeah.
And tied to that again, why are we bringing this specific product into the market space? Because that is how you can convince your customers in the end why choose you.
You know what? You know where I think we did well on that? Now that you're talking, I've never thought about it before, but for us, when someone comes and tells me, I'm not a cookie person, but I love your cookies.
Right.
So this for me is like a huge win. Why? Because we are not competing. I don't want to use the competing, but we're not selling a cookie.
Mm.
We are selling a treat. We are selling a happy experience.
Right.
We are selling
that's branding.
a feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to think, oh, this is a really good cookie or this is the best cookie. No, this is, for me, the yummiest thing you can eat after your meal.
The most important part also is, just like you said, it's not feeling entitled. I created a brand and everybody should love it. Ask yourself, what is the unique value of this brand?
Yeah.
How are you uniquely contributing? Because everybody's contributing, but you need to, one way or the other, be unique in your contribution, worth the experience.
And don't you think that if every brand was unique in that sense, or dug deep into what it wants to be and ends up with a unique proposition, and there is actually space for everybody?
Right. Here's the thing. Because branding, what most people don't consider is that branding, competition and branding are the same exercise.
Yeah.
Right? And so
it's the flip side, right?
If you're losing to competition, you have a branding problem. You see, because if the branding is done right and there is a market for your product, then why shouldn't the customer use it. If the customer is not using it, it's either you're not communicating well enough to the customer what this proposition is.
Exactly, because if someone comes and tells me, do you make the best cookies in Dubai? I can't say yes.
Yeah.
There are many types of cookies. There are many different opinions about
Right.
cookies, and people can get very opinionated. But according to my own personal judgment, this would be my favorite cookie.
Right.
So this is where we come in, like
Yeah.
who we
Yeah.
are. I'm not here to be the best. I'm just here to do this really well,
Yeah.
according to my standards.
Yeah. Another part of branding is asking yourself, where do you realistically fit in the market, which is basically like brand positioning. Positioning is very important because so many brands are wrongly under some impression that they belong in a segment that they don't really belong there.
Really?
And so they won't perform well because the brand doesn't live up to the position they have chosen. Or some brands position themselves way lower than where the brand is. And so that there is a fine line between getting it right and actually getting it wrong, but it's detrimental for the business. And that's why be realistic when you're thinking of your brand.
But this is where pricing also comes in,
Right.
and it's all like a big
Right. And that's
game.
why foundational work, again, if we have done
back
all
in
the
that
foundation work, we actually, this becomes natural and easy, and we understand exactly where we fit. We understand exactly what kind of price range we should be within. Pricing is a strategy at the end of the day, and this strategy has to do with the brand also, because if you're positioning yourself as a premium brand, the price range can actually be on the higher range. But if you are positioning yourself as a brand that is affordable, it doesn't make sense to actually go for premium everything. And so these decisions need to be made well in advance, okay, because this is how you beat competition. Competition is something we need to talk about, because competition, I think, is the most misunderstood thing out there in business.
It's a big topic. Yeah.
What do you think of competition?
Competition. I think, you can't make cookies in a town that's as big on desserts as Dubai and not think of your competition.
With everything available.
Like, seriously, I follow this woman on TikTok, and every single day she brings a new dessert that is made locally. Like, who are these people? You know?
Yeah.
But there is so much abundance, so much everything, so many flavors, so many types, so many package sizes. Like, it is crazy. Like the big croissant. Whatever. So operating in this town, like, you will not open and assume you're alone.
Yeah.
Actually, you're gonna open and you're gonna be like, I hope to God they notice me, you know? Because you are competing with everybody under the sun. You're competing with the brands that came from abroad. You are competing
the big names, the chains,
huge names with the huge pockets. With, okay, you know what? We're gonna double our branches by next year. That kind of that size. And then you're competing also with homegrown brands who've been around for 10 years. And then you're competing with even supermarkets. You're this is a product that is available everywhere.
Yeah.
You're competing with everybody.
You create a product, the next day it's all over.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And then and then competition is quick. Like you think you reinvented the wheel for you, and then 48 hours later your competition's doing
it's
the
all
same
over the
exact
place,
thing.
and
You're like, I'm like, guys, can you
like
do your own thing?
Pause.
Can you think about your own ideas? But it doesn't work that way. So you really need to nail down, in my opinion, today, after having operated, you really need to nail down where you want to be and what you want to do and what your offering is, because only you can give your offering, and that is where your
100%.
competition cannot follow you. So
and your unique value here is actually where it's important.
yeah.
When it comes to competition, I do coaching, right? And so a lot of the small business owners I meet, rightfully, because I know I was there also at some point, they treat competition as the worst thing that can happen to a business. I try to always tell them, and bear with me. I'm going to say something that you might not like, but think about it. Competition is the best thing that will happen to a business. The single best thing that will happen to a business.
Okay, can I qualify that? Like, it is actually really good for you, but it's going to annoy you throughout.
Yes. Look, competition, you have to look at it this way. You're in the sports business. You got to compete. Okay, but the game exists, and the game is there for a reason. It's you qualify or you don't. The way to win is to actually control your performance. As such, the only person you should ever compete with as a business on an individual level is yourself at your current stage.
I'm going to tell you what you told me one day.
Tell me.
So one day I called you. I remember I was in the car. I was parked in front of our kitchen. And I went down the rabbit hole of looking up every single cookie in Dubai. And I did that for like 4 hours. And at the end, my head was going to explode. And I called you and I'm like, Dima, like one closes and another 10 open. Like, what is this? And you said, which was great advice, and advice I would give to anybody, no matter what sector, what industry. And it would be fine. Okay, you don't live under a rock. You have to look
You're
up
part
your
of the world,
competition. You need to see what's out there. You should not spend more than 10% of your time looking at other people. And that's it. The other 90%, you just put your head down and you do what you think is right for you and your business, and that's it. And since then, honestly, whenever I feel like I'm like over researching or over looking, and I would stop myself. And that is such a healthy balance to have, like a 10-90%, because you know what's out there, but you're not focused on it.
Let me tell you something. The thing about competition, right, is first of all, it's a sport. In sports, the best example I can give you is horse racing. In horse racing, to make sure that the horse focuses on its own performance, they put the blinders for them. They don't want them to look at other horses and what's going on around them. They want them to focus on the task. And so every time you're in the sport of competition, first of all, have the sports spirit. Be a sportsman,
Yeah. It's a game.
Yeah. Put the blinders on and focus on your own performance. When you don't like the outcome, don't go blaming your shortcoming on your competition. Blame your shortcoming on your process. Develop the process. Here's the thing. I say that competition is the best thing that happens to companies is because we will never improve unless we have a bar and we need to compete against that bar. Yeah. Sometimes we need a little nudge here and there.
Yeah, or you get lazy.
Right.
You get complacent.
But that is why also the market becomes so interesting, and that's why we as people become interesting. We cannot just sit and say and feel entitled, I created this, now everybody back off. It doesn't work that way.
I thought it was going to be that way. Honestly, I was like, okay, I have my recipes, I have my packaging, I have my social media, whatever. You have to reinvent yourself. Like, not fully, but you have to always be making the next thing.
So, to wrap it up, you guys, when it comes to competition, focus on your game, focus on your performance, and have the spirit to actually win or lose gracefully. If you lose the competition, go back to the drawing board, see what's wrong with your process, see what's wrong with your delivery. Maybe you didn't deliver on the promise. Also remember, it's a branding game. Remember that in branding, why should people choose you? Every time you take a product out, make sure to ask yourself, why is that customer going to actually order it again? Give them a reason, tell them that reason, show them that reason, and actually keep developing and growing. No baby is born walking. We all learn to walk. And so when it comes to competition, we should think of it that way.
We have a lot more episodes on the way. A lot of more topics that are interesting to everybody who's running a business or thinking of running a business. And yeah, follow Dima for more. She is on DS Consulting on Instagram. Is that correct?
DS Consulting Club and the Grow Pro Shop, which is coming very soon.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Oh my God, yeah.